It's official. The most heartbreaking news for Indiana Fever fans that could come of the season, but Caitlin Clark will not be returning to the 2025 WNBA season. She took the liberty of posting it herself because there were many people asking to hear from Caitlin Clark, to hear how she felt about the entire situation, because a lot of people felt like it was the front office that was kind of making all of these decisions. But she did end up taking to Twitter and posting this. She also posted on Instagram, so if any—
Caitlin Clark out for the remainder of the 2025 season, something we all think we knew was coming after what Stephanie White.
The Fever and Clark saying that she tried to get back on the floor. It appears that she just ran out of time, not able to get enough confidence back in her body as the season wraps up and the playoffs are likely about to begin for Indiana. I mean, it's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season of it.
Caitlin Clark officially done for the season. Officially done for the season. This is not ideal.
What if I told you that one of the most dominant athletes in sports just made an announcement that could change everything? Caitlin Clark, the player who single-handedly transformed women's basketball into must-watch television, just dropped news that has the entire sports world in complete shock. Now, before we dive into what this means for basketball, for the WNBA, and for millions of fans who fell in love with the sport because of her, let me be crystal clear about something. This isn't just about one player missing games. This is about the potential unraveling of the most explosive growth period women's basketball has ever experienced.
Caitlin wrote, I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way fans continue to show up for me and the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through the adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoffs. And then there was a series of photos that Caitlin shared. I mean, this one more indicative of her season than anything else.
Think about this for a second. Just 12 months ago, most casual sports fans couldn't name a single WNBA player. Fast forward to today, and Caitlin Clark's jersey sales are breaking records. Arenas are selling out, and television ratings are hitting numbers that executives thought were impossible. One person did that. One 22-year-old from Iowa completely flipped the script on what women's basketball could be. But here's where things get really interesting and honestly a little terrifying for the league. Clark's announcement comes at the absolute worst possible time. We're talking about a player who averaged over 20 points per game in college, who could drain three-pointers from distances that made NBA players jealous, and who brought a level of excitement to women's basketball that we've never seen before.
I don't have any more real good things to say about the Fever organization as of now, because I will contend that they have known this was going to happen and they did not want to tell anybody.
I would say for the last month or so, they kind of had a feeling where this was going to go. The main issue, another day-to-day injury that turns into a season ender. Another day-to-day injury that turns into a season ender. And if you don't call that a lack of transparency, I don't know what to call that. They could have easily said 2 months, 1 to 2 months. Be evaluated in the next 6 weeks. Instead, they played this day-to-day, game-time decision, probable, questionable nonsense for the last 8 weeks. And that is why fans are so pissed off for the most part. I'm not going to speak for...
The ripple effects of this news are already starting to hit, and they're massive. Television networks that were planning their coverage around Clark's games are now scrambling to figure out what to do. Advertisers who jumped into women's basketball specifically because of the Clark phenomenon are suddenly questioning their investments. Season ticket holders who bought packages just to watch her play are demanding answers. Let me paint you a picture of just how significant Clark's impact has been. When she played her final college game, It drew more viewers than most NBA playoff games. Think about that. A women's college basketball game outdrew professional men's basketball. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because you have a once-in-a-generation talent who transcends the sport itself. But the real tragedy here isn't just about basketball statistics or television ratings. It's about momentum. Cultural momentum is incredibly fragile, especially for women's sports. It takes years, sometimes decades, to build the kind of mainstream attention that Clark generated almost overnight. And now, just as women's basketball was hitting its stride, just as young girls everywhere were picking up basketballs and dreaming of being the next Caitlin Clark, that momentum faces its biggest test.
And they are followed by these black and white photos. Black and white seems very apropos for the situation. In this first photo, she looks very introspective. And this is her signing all the autographs, which she always did for everybody in every game, which is why she showed up and did travel with the team, because she knows just how much she means to everybody that buys those tickets. I mean, I would say at least like 90 to maybe not 95, but like 90% of the people in arenas were there to see Caitlin Clark, which of course they became fans of the Fever afterwards, but you know, Caitlin Clark is the draw. And then here's this one where she's actually in her street clothes. And yeah, these are, you know, pretty heartfelt photos, her in the huddle with her teammate.
The timing makes this even more brutal. We're talking about a player who was just hitting her professional stride. The WNBA had finally found its marquee star, the player who could carry the league into a new era of popularity and profitability. Corporate sponsors were lining up. Television deals were being renegotiated. Merchandise sales were through the roof. All of that growth was built around one person's incredible ability to make basketball look like art. Now here's what nobody's talking about, but everyone's thinking. What happens to all those new fans Clark brought to women's basketball? These weren't traditional basketball fans who were going to stick around regardless. These were casual viewers who tuned in specifically to watch her play. Without that draw, without that magnetic personality and otherworldly skill set lighting up scoreboards, how many of those fans just disappear?
This is the statement from Amber Cox, the GM. Caitlin has worked so hard throughout this time, doing everything possible to recover and return to the court, but ultimately time is not on our side. While we continue working with Caitlin and provide her with every resource we have available, there is not enough time left in our season for her to safely return, and her long-term health and well-being remains our top priority. We are looking forward to having her back at full strength to start the 2026 season, which is a long ways away. That's part of the problem. It is a long ways.
The business side of this is equally concerning. Arena attendance for games featuring Clark was astronomical compared to league averages. Teams were literally moving games to larger venues just to accommodate demand. Concession sales, parking revenue, merchandise profits, everything was up when she was on the court. That economic engine just got turned off. And the financial implications for the entire league could be devastating. But let's talk about the human element for a moment, because that's what really matters here. Clark isn't just a basketball player. She's become a role model for an entire generation of young athletes. She showed girls that they could be competitive, confident, and completely dominant in their sport, while still maintaining their personality and authenticity. That representation matters more than any statistic or revenue number.
She got a bunch of messages of support, but this is a big one. LeBron James, minor setback for a major comeback. Rest up, get healthy, and be you.
The question now becomes whether women's basketball can maintain the incredible progress it made during the Clark era. Can other players step up and capture even a fraction of that magic? Can the league sustain the interest levels without its biggest star? These aren't just sports questions. They're questions about the future viability of women's professional basketball as mainstream entertainment. What makes this situation even more complex is that Clark's appeal went far beyond traditional basketball fans. She attracted viewers who appreciated her skill, her competitiveness, and her ability to perform under pressure. She made women's basketball appointment television something that seemed impossible just a few years ago. The announcement today represents more than just one player's absence from the court. It's a pivotal moment that will determine whether women's basketball can prove it's bigger than any single individual, no matter how talented or charismatic they might be. The real test starts now.